It's the only podcast that broadcasts 348 miles away. 438 miles away between Lubbock and College Station. Good morning, everybody. This is the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I am George Koff, and alongside my co-host, Desmond McLaughlin. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, Desmond.
Good morning, George.
And we've got lots of football to break down. I say lots because Kentucky was the big game of the week against Texas A&M. And we are going to have our first guest join us for some picks. That will be a lot of fun and pretty exciting. So, Kentucky and Texas A&M. Kentucky was 13th ranked and came into this game undefeated. Definitely looked like they were the stronger team. But unfortunately, A&M had other ideas. Good old-fashioned, old-school football game. Aggies really just dominated the defense. They dominated the rushing defense. We did not allow Kentucky to cross the 50-yard line. Just think about that for a second. They ran no plays across the 50-yard line. They got 2 touchdowns on one a scoop and score and one on a 75-yard play or 60-yard play or something like that. We looked like the wrecking crew from the 90s, and it helped we were wearing 1998 throwbacks. Those throwbacks were nice. I don't know if you saw them. Did you see them?
No, I did not see them.
They were nice. Like, straight, just, they were good. I'm just going to say that. They looked like Adidas did a good job. And we had 2 turnovers, and again, we cannot turn over the football. We have not won the turnover battle in any game we've played this season. Okay, even the 4 wins, we have not won the turnover battle.
Wow.
Which drives me crazy, but it is what it is, and we are obviously still. I was so glad to see Jimbo give it to Trevion in overtime. 4 straight running plays, and we scored. So, I mean, that was a positive. Kentucky had that field goal that dinked off the uprights or the crossbar. I don't know if you were watching the game. We were like watching it. It looked like it was in slow motion, going, and it just dinked off. I was like, oh my gosh! But a big way to get only our second win over a top 15 opponent at Kyle. And so the last time that happened was number 9 Tennessee in double overtime 2016, 2 years ago. I did like to see Jimbo with the risk. He went for it on 4th down twice on the same drive, actually. Got it on the first time, didn't get it inside the Kentucky 30, but definitely liked what I saw. Anything you want to add?
Well, I just want to say congratulations. Texas A&M's back in the top 25, sitting at that 22 seed.
Yes, sir.
This was a good win against the top 15 team, but I feel like it was almost kind of expected. Like, almost as if, like, A&M was a favorite. That's just the kind of vibe I had.
We were. I mean, we were a 6.5 point favorite. Or, actually, it turned out to be 5.5 because we did cover with the touchdown. And we didn't need the extra point to cover anyway. So, again, you know me with my spreads. I love getting that cover.
Correct.
But, yes, I think you're right. The A&M they just were the favorites. And I think that had to do with not just playing at Kyle, but just how Kentucky had come in. I mean, this is a team that knocked off Florida in the swamp, and Florida lost this week. Or Florida won, sorry. They're 5-1. They beat LSU. So that just says something. Their one loss is to this Kentucky team. And I think the East is going to come down to Georgia, Florida, Kentucky. And I think that's
definitely Georgia.
A generous, with Florida and Kentucky. But A&M gets another SEC East win. We're 10-3 since joining the SEC. Those 3 losses, 2 to Mizzou, 1 to Florida, or in our first game in the SEC. But we continue the SEC East play, or we're in the West, but we cross division game, and we play South Carolina in Columbia. Both teams are coming off of big wins. Mizzou, South Carolina beat Mizzou on a last-second field goal. A&M in overtime, of course. But I think A&M will carry that momentum into the so-called rivalry game. We play for this trophy that's like it's a senator that was in South Carolina but then fought in Alamo, so I guess a rivalry game. And A&M gets their 5th straight win over South Carolina. 38-25. What about you?
I agree, George. I definitely agree that they'll go in and they go away and beat South Carolina. Yeah, I'll stick with the 38-25. Sounds like a good score.
Yeah, I think the difference will be Trevion Williams again. And I
Mhm.
don't. I think
Rushing
the
is huge.
passing game will be about even, but it's going to come down to the rushing game, and that will be the difference. So getting into Lubbock, I know that Texas Tech had a bye week, but
Correct.
bye weeks are also important. And Bowman had that lung. What was it? A collapsed lung? Is that what it was?
Yeah, class slum.
And what's his status?
According to Cliff Kingsbury and the staff, Al Bowman is expected to play this weekend. It'll be interesting. You know, Jeff Duffy played really well at the end of that game against West Virginia, but they have chosen Alan Bowman. You know, he's still sixth, I think, in passing yards. This will be a big game, you know, playing away at TCU on a Thursday night. TCU is now unranked, but they're still fifth in the Big 12. This has been a week to adjust. Definitely look over what mistakes they made. Like, this could be a good week to maybe fix all the things that they did wrong, but also could be like a bad week. You know, they're kind of on a hot streak. You know, playing some well ball. Sometimes a week off can ruin that momentum. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I definitely agree with that. Thursday night game, prime time. I mean, what else can you ask for in Lubbock? And hey, it'll give you a break from the sun. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. Even it's away though, so like
I think it's not in Lubbock.
Yes, I love it.
Oh, that was on me then. I thought it was in Lubbock, but you know what? I still think Texas Tech wins. Hey, you never know. Fort Worth's not that far away.
That is true. That is true.
Do you have any Friday classes? Because you never know.
My question is, George, what is Cliff Kingsbury's status right now? Is he still in the hot seat, or does he have another year in him?
Good question. I think they're 4-3.
Texas Tech.
Yeah.
No, I think they're 3-2.
3-2. Okay, 3-2. I keep thinking that they played an extra game, but okay.
Yeah, 1-1 in Big 12.
I think if Kingsbury can get a win over Texas, TCU, and if they can keep it close with OU, he's okay. His hot seat goes from being mildly hot to tapers down to not really being on the hot seat because it shows that he's competing. But unless Texas Tech fans are saying no more competing, we want outright wins, then I think he's toast. I mean, what's your take? Do you think that the mentality for Red Raider fans is that you want him to win, or do you want him to just compete? Because he's been at Texas Tech for 4 years now?
Yeah, about 4 or 5. Yeah,
4 or 5 years, and all he's done is 7-5 or 6-6 or 6-7.
Well, that's a tough one. I was thinking that he's 1, maybe 2 games away from losing his job. But like going to this year, like I feel like Texas Tech has done a good job. They kept it close against West Virginia. Kind of got blown up at Ole Miss, but that was getting the first week. You know, he's transformed a quarterback into being one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Just like Patrick Mahomes last year.
Yep.
And I feel like they've been playing really good. You know, beat Oklahoma State, but they are sitting 6th seed in the Big 12 right now.
But here's the deal. But Oklahoma State, that's a win, and looking back, that really is a win that I guess is expected because Oklahoma State has not played well. They lost to Iowa State today on Saturday, and that, I mean, I was thinking that was going to be a close one, but I really didn't think that Oklahoma State was going to lose that, and to see that just makes Texas Tech's win that much. You know, that the quality of win goes down a little bit. But you have to give Iowa State some credit. They've fought in the Big 12 the last few years. And I always say that it's tough to go as a top 10 team, or even top 25 for that matter, into Ames, into Iowa State. It's hard to come out with a win because they play with that grit, that determination. And, a lot of times it comes down. Like, look at Oklahoma this year. They're playing pretty good and putting up a lot of points. They only put up 38 points against Iowa State. That's, I think their defense says something, but I think if they were to compete in like the Big Ten or ACC or something like that, they would probably do better. but they're in the Big 12 where it's all offense and not defense.
Right.
And that's just, yeah, you get what I mean. So we're gonna shift the conversation to the top 25. I'm not gonna say Texas is back. I'm gonna say the Big 12 is back because West Virginia, Texas, and actually no, just Texas and Oklahoma and West Virginia. Really, they're dominating the top 15 right now. Even though Oklahoma did fall, Texas, I can't believe, took a 10 spot jump from 19 to 9.
I can't believe Oklahoma lost. I am outraged right now.
I mean, hey, Kyler Murray played well, and
yes, he did.
This was a, they used to call it the Red River Shootout, before AT&T was a sponsor, and it was like now it's the Red River Showdown or whatever. But it used to be the Red River Shootout because it would always come down to the last few minutes, and this was a classic Red River Shootout game. And
definitely a great game.
I was meeting some friends at the MSC at our student union here in AM, and I told them, I'll meet you in 10 minutes. The game is out of proportion. Texas is up 45-24. They're up by 3 touchdowns. Okay, I leave my dorm. I get to the MSC. They have a big TV going with the game, and OU scores to tie the game. If that doesn't say anything about OU's, just the way that Texas almost blew that lead, I don't know what does, because you can't just expect Texas to come in, get a 21-point lead, and get out there with a win. Right. Oklahoma's going to fight, and that's why I'm surprised they took that big of a drop, but I think it also has to deal with who else won and who else lost. And I wouldn't be surprised to see OU back in the top in the top 10 next week. I think Washington or somebody's going to lose, and they'll be back in the top 10. They'll get to a good bowl if they don't win the Big 12 for some reason. And West Virginia does. They'll get to a big bowl.
Yeah. I just want to say something quick, George, about the top 25. Right now, currently, there are 3 two-loss teams in the top 25.
Yes, I was going to say
Auburn,
that too.
A&M, and Mississippi State. And I want you to tell me what all these teams have in common.
They're all
Alabama,
SEC.
Georgia, LSU, Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, A&M, and Mississippi State.
They're all in the SEC. And
they're all ranked, George. That is 32% of the top 25, all coming from the SEC. You want to talk about a powerhouse?
Hey, and you know what? 5 of the 8 SEC teams that are ranked are from the SEC West too. So
yes.
Put it this way: the relevant teams in the SEC West are ranked. Arkansas and Ole Miss are not relevant, so they don't deserve to be ranked. They're 1-5 and 2-3 or whatever Ole Miss is. I could care less about Ole Miss because I know they're going to beat us, or we're going to beat them. Sorry, did not hear that. We're going to beat them here in our Maroonette game. UCF, what do you think about them in the top 10? I am not a fan. I do not understand why they are the top 10.
Well, I don't really mind it. They're undefeated. They kind of got, I don't know, scared. They kind of got left out last year a little bit too. I don't mind them being top 10. Don't think that they'll stay there. Don't think that the strength of schedule allows them to stay there a lot. But I agree with what you said. Definitely a one-loss Oklahoma team deserves to be top 10 instead of a undefeated UCF team.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and I said here in my notes, I said Oklahoma is a much better team any day of the week. I mean,
any day.
And Kyler Murray, if they were to play in the Peach Bowl for some reason, I don't know, let's say that one's ranked, whatever. Oklahoma, okay, it's not Auburn, where Auburn was coming off that loss and they just didn't feel like they wanted to play last year. Oklahoma would win by like 30 points, and that is not an exaggeration. That it would not even be close. I do think the top 10 will change prior to our first college football playoff rankings, the last weekend of October.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see huge movement. Texas may go down. Michigan might get into the top 10. I'm curious.
Clemson should go down.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the playoff committee has with Clemson, with the decision with Ohio State. No, not Ohio State. Clemson, Notre Dame, West Virginia, and Penn State. Because all those teams have one loss. Well, not Clemson and Notre Dame. So they don't all have one loss. But they really, the way that they're playing seems like they have one loss. And I'm curious to see how the committee ranks their wins and over the losses that the one loss teams have. I mean, Penn State's loss is a 1-point loss to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see if the committee's going to want look at a huge blowout or a close one and see which one they want, which one is more important to them. And I have a feeling it's going to be the close loss. It's going to be more important to them because if they stayed in the game until the very end, obviously they're right up there with the team that they were playing.
Right.
But just like being up there with some teams, we have reached the 6th game mark, week 7, which means it's time for our preseason awards. If we were going to have a banquet for all these award winners, let's start to crown our winners. I'll go first. I'll say the titles that we have, and then we'll just break down kind of why you chose who you chose. So our preseason offensive player of the year could be anyone on the offense. The preseason defensive player of the year, preseason special teams player of the year, the best game so far this season, whether it be close, blowout, however you define best. The biggest upset up to this point doesn't have to be spread wise. It just has to be just the biggest upset you saw. And finally, your preseason or your midseason Heisman Trophy winner. Start with the offensive player. I'm going out on a limb here, and I think it's strictly because of how I've seen this team play without Urban Meyer, and how this team is just really strong. I'm talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes and their leader Dwayne Haskins, quarterback. He can run, he can pass. I don't necessarily think he can win the Heisman, but I just think he's right now offensively best player right now.
Wrong.
Please,
George.
Please. We all know Kyler Murray is not as good as people think.
Kyler Murray is
it's all about the Buckeyes.
Heisman winning this year, George. I've been saying this every single podcast, and I'll say this podcast, even after their loss against Texas, Kyler Murray still showed up, and he's the best player in college football this season.
I will give him that. I'll give him that he did show up. But here's the deal.
And early in the season, they lost Rodney Anderson, I believe, their running back. Oklahoma, and they said, Kyler Murray is going to have to, take more of the offensive load. And he's definitely done that, George. He's been doing on his feet. He's been throwing. He's been being creative. Like, I don't know if you saw that really long run he had against Texas.
No, I did. That was the one where people were making Usain Bolt memes.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. I just don't think he's the Heisman. We're in October here. The Heisman isn't settled until mid-November. And Oklahoma could take a bad loss here. Kyler Murray could have a 3-interception game against TCU or something.
He could.
Somebody that you wouldn't think, and all of a sudden his name gets taken out. We'll see. I think it's not over yet. The conversation's not over, but I do think Kyler Murray is a candidate, but we'll just have to wait to see.
We will.
Defensive wise, I found this guy, maybe from my small school pick, but Nate Brooks, defensive back from North Texas. He's got 4 interceptions this season, and they're all on like 2 of them were on 50-50 balls that he just straight up pulled out of the air. One was on a nice diving catch. Like, this guy is athletic. He's an athlete. He's elite. One up me, Desmond. I don't think you can.
Well, George, I'm going to choose Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle of Houston. He has 40 tackles this year, 17 solo. Primarily only because he is the only defensive player right now, the top 5 in the Heisman.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen defensive players win the Heisman? No,
never.
He's not going to win the Heisman.
I'm not saying he is, but he's the only choice, only candidate right now.
That's true.
I already told you. You already know I think he's going to win the Heisman, George.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, we all know that. Now here's the question. Do you think he goes number 1 draft pick?
No.
Number 1 overall. That's what they were predicting at the beginning of the season.
No.
And seeing the way U of H has played, I don't think so.
No, yeah.
The only time that I really do think was when he's triple teamed by
Texas Tech, right.
and barely could get anything going. Like,
Exactly.
you have to triple team this guy, which means he is a beast if he's left alone. But the NFL, the bigger, stronger guys will just get him there. I mean, he's built, but he's not. He may do well in the NFL, he may not. So the special teams, field goal kickers, punters, holders, even if you wanted to. I've got our punter here at A&M, Braden Mann. He's got the best punting average in the nation, almost 60-yard punting average. He had an 82-yard punt against Kentucky, and that is the second longest in school history, the third longest in FBS history, and the longest this season. So I don't want to say that A&M needs to keep punting, but when they do, you can always take a punt that gets them, that flips the field and puts them inside their own 20.
Right. Mine, I apologize. Don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Andre Smith, I believe. He's a kicker for Syracuse.
Syracuse fans, we apologize.
Yes.
We're not good at pronunciation, but we'll give you the credit you deserve. And what makes him so special, Desmond?
He is 16 for 17 from field goals. Longest is 54. 30 for 30 on the point after, and he's hit 3 for 50 plus.
I mean, that's solid. That's definitely solid. So we go into the best game of the week, or not week, the best game so far this season. I think last week's Red River Showdown was a great one, but I've got to go with the game that won up that Penn State, Ohio State. The whole game was exciting. It wasn't just one part that was exciting. The whole game. And here in Texas, it just seemed like it was the fourth quarter and then the big 3 scorers in a row by Texas. What say you?
Best game so far for me has definitely been Texas OU, George. As you said, it's a Red River shootout. It almost could possibly ruin Oklahoma's chances to make the playoffs. People are saying Texas is back, OU sucks. The game was down to the wire. Could possibly jeopardize Kyler Murray's chances of winning Heisman. Moved Texas back up top 10, kicked Oklahoma out, 48-45, shakes out the Big 12. I just think it was just a crucial game.
I definitely agree with that, but let's just hold off of the Texas is back chance for maybe 2 more weeks, and then we'll see where they are, because I don't buy into it just yet. So I'm with you on that one. Let's make this rapid fire here so we can get to the 5 for 5 segment. Biggest upset so far. I have Old Dominion over Virginia Tech 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. Sorry.
I have early in the season when BYU beat number 6 Wisconsin 24-21.
And they seem like they may bounce back this week, though, from put that upset way back in the rearview mirror, and they've made their way back up the top 25. They fell way down, and they just keep winning. I think that definitely is a testament that you can't, in college football, you can't just take one upset loss and say that that's the end of the season. You just have to look at the whole season and move on and keep moving forward. And finally, you mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention mine. Right now, Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going to butcher this, but it's Tua Tagovailoa. We're just gonna say Tua because everyone knows it's the Hawaiian freshman from Alabama.
Correct.
Quarterback. The left-handed magic is unstoppable, and that's coming from an A&M fan who made it close against them. It's just you can't defend Tua, and if they win the national championship, it'll be because Tua did it on the run or on the ground and in the air. And you said Kyler, right? You said Kyler Murray's going to win the Heisman.
I did, and that's not changing, George.
We'll just leave it at that then. So, like I mentioned at the very beginning, we do have a new way this next segment's going to work, our 5 for 5 and 5 with 5. And we have a special guest with us, our first time ever on this podcast. We're doing some this first season of, with football and stuff. And so I'd like to welcome in our guest, Mr. Brian Smith. He is a sports management major like I am here at A&M. I've asked him to pick the 5 games along with A&M and Texas Tech to see what his take is on that. We'll pick our upsets. He's got one too, I hope. And so good morning, Brian.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
So Brian, we're going to just go down the line like we usually do. First, I'll preface with Desmond. You need to get your upset watch in order because you're 1-4. Boston College did not win for you. I mean, and for me, I'll just brag a little bit. I'm 3-2. UF got that win, and I'll mention I said it was going to be 27-20. The final score of that game was 27-19. I don't know why. Maybe people are saying I traveled into the future. I just guessed pretty well. So our first game of the week is the number 2 Georgia Bulldogs go into Death Valley and play the 13th ranked LSU. This was supposed to be a top 5 matchup. LSU didn't get their bargain or their side of the bargain, but I think for me, Tigers don't bounce back from that close loss. Georgia rolls on 28-17. Desmond, what do you got?
I agree, George. I definitely think Georgia's been dominant this whole season, just second behind Alabama, and I have them winning 34-24.
And we'll welcome in Brian here. Brian, what do you got?
So I was born around the Georgia area, so I'm used to being around Georgia fans. Can't stand them, but I'm expecting them to pull out a dub this weekend in Death Valley. It should be a really good game, but if they prove their dominance, I think that they're going to be a huge favorite to win the East. And I know LSU is going to be seeking some revenge from last week, but it's not a night game in Death Valley, so they aren't as strong as they should be. And also, Georgia's star running back this year, Elijah Holyfield, that dude is a beast. He went to my high school, and just watching him for 3 years when he was a sophomore through a senior, I got to see everything, and I think that he just dominates on the field.
Dang, this Brian knows his stuff. What do you think, Desmond?
I definitely agree. He does know his stuff.
I mean, wow. So Georgia across the board then. And I think it will be a good one, but definitely not playing at night. It's going to hurt the Tigers. Moving ahead, we have the 7th-ranked Washington Huskies take on the Oregon Ducks. This time they're 17th-ranked. Very similar to the matchup we had Stanford-Oregon. It was, I think, 6th-ranked Stanford and 20th-ranked Oregon, something like that. And Oregon, they still want that Pac-12 win, that big ranked win. But Washington sneaks out barely. I mean, if they win, it will be because of some sort of controversial play, like a touchdown, or some sort of just big play, like a tip pass. 31-24, Washington. Desmond, what do you have?
Well, George, actually, this will be my upset alert for the week. I know I've not been doing well lately. My record has not proven I'm very intelligent in this field, but I have Oregon winning 30-24. Washington, this year, I don't really think they deserve to be top 10. They struggled against Arizona State, my small team, by the way. They struggled against UCLA, struggled against Auburn, both okay teams, and they somewhat also struggled against Utah.
Yeah, can we just mention that Auburn, I think, has been one of the biggest busts from the preseason polls. I mean, they started like what? I think they started 9th ranked playing a 6th ranked Washington team in the preseason polls, and then they've just tumbled down. And Washington stayed fairly 6 or 7. And I think it just says something that the preseason polls is something you can't just you can't take for what it is. You have to take it lightly and see how they actually play. But Brian, what do you have?
I gotta disagree with you, George, on this game. I think that Oregon is going to be able to pull it out this week. I am super excited for this game. I remember back in the early years, 2013, when Oregon was just dominating. That was fun to watch, and I'm excited for them to be back. I think that Washington can play well in the game, but since the Ducks are home, I think they're going to be able to pull it out.
Man, so it looks like I'm a lone Husky over here. Both you guys going with the Ducks. So we move to the biggest, supposedly, the biggest game of the week. Wisconsin, the Badgers, 15th ranked, going to the big house in Ann Arbor in Michigan, 12th ranked now, moving their way back up. College game days at this one. This is the other top 15 matchup. They decided not to go to Baton Rouge, apparently. So Ann Arbor it is. I think this is going to surprise everybody, you, Brian and Desmond. But I think the Wolverines are just going to trounce, roll, destroy. Give me another adjective, or give me another synonym for destroy, because Wisconsin's been so inconsistent. 45-20 Michigan. 45-20. Desmond, anything you want to say on that one?
Actually, it's another upset, George. I think that Wisconsin will come out and win 40-31.
What was that? What was your score?
40-31.
Okay. So close then. So definitely
Yes.
close. What about you, Brian?
I gotta say that it is not the best game of the weekend. I totally think that game day should be in Baton Rouge with UGA and LSU. I think that is going to be a way more quality game. I just can't believe in Wisconsin. They're just a hard team for me to get behind. I can't stand the Wolverines, but Wisconsin's just a tough team to be able to support throughout the season. And I think that Michigan's going to win this one. I think that Big Blue Nation... Not Big Blue Nation, that's Kentucky.
Just Big Blue.
Big Blue's going to pull it out at home.
Okay. So an upset, but 2 Michigan Wolverines. And like I had mentioned earlier, we got a Big 12 matchup. 6th ranked West Virginia, so the Country Roads, take their Country Roads to Ames, Iowa, and see the Cyclones of Iowa State. Like I mentioned, it's hard for top 25 teams to go into Ames and get a win, but it's going to be an outlier. West Virginia continues their undefeated reign at the top of the Big 12. 31-14 West Virginia. Desmond?
I don't know why this is top 5, George. I don't think there'll be any competition here. I think West Virginia will roll over them. I have a big blowout, 49-17. I just feel really confident in Will Greer. He's playing well. He looks. I'll tell you, Will Greer looks really comfortable in the pocket. He looks really comfortable.
Yeah, I think, and again, that was my Heisman favorite. Will Greer, he threw three picks last week, so I don't know if he's still in the running. We need a good 6 touchdown performance from him to get him back. But Brian, you want to say anything about West Virginia winning?
I think that West Virginia has got to win this game if they want a shot at reaching the playoff this year. And I know Iowa State puts up a fight when they're at home, but I think West Virginia is motivated to at least try and get New Year's Six Bowl and hopefully the playoff for them. So I think they're going to win this one.
Score prediction? Big?
I think it'll be big.
Big, yeah. And Desmond, for the record, this game is only one of our 5 games because everyone else is trash. So we're just gonna leave it at that. And speaking of trash, how about the spread on this next one? The UCF Golden Knights, I think it's just Knights, take on Memphis in the Tigers in the Liberty Bowl stadium, because that's Memphis's home stadium. It is a 4.5 point favorite for Memphis. That's right. That's not wrong. Memphis is the favorite. The UCF Knights have an 18-game win streak on the line. This is my upset. And that may sound strange, and you may think, oh, you could have gone for a better upset, yada, yada, yada. Well, you know what? UCF is not in the top 10 caliber. They're not as good as they were last year with Shaquem Griffin. And, Mackenzie Milton is still there, their quarterback, but he's not as good as what he was stats-wise as that he was putting up last year. And this game will literally come down to the last 30 seconds. There will be some sort of interception or a touchdown or something. Someone will either score or turn it over to end the game. 48-45 Memphis. Big win for the Memphis program. Get them back in this season. They're like 3-2, so get them back in the season and people will storm the field. Desmond, please tell me you have something at least decent here.
Well, I definitely have a close game, but I unfortunately I have UCF winning 24-17. I still don't think they're a top 10 team, but I really think they're a team that's good enough to beat Memphis.
Okay. What about you, Brian?
You know, George, UCF is a top 10 team. It is tough with the schools that they play, but I've watched this UCF-Memphis game the last 3 years and had the pleasure to watch UCF kill Auburn in the Peach Bowl in January. And yeah, Auburn wasn't motivated to play that game, but UCF is strong. And I know it's a different year, but they are a strong team and a force to be reckoned with. It's a bummer with their schedule that their two Power 5 games were against UNC and Pitt. UNC game got canceled,
yeah.
And Pitt is nothing, so that doesn't help out them. But I think that UCF is going to blow Memphis out of their own stadium this weekend.
Okay. Well, you know what? I just want to say that UCF is not a top 10 team, and that the game this is a rematch of the American Conference Championship last year, in which literally came down to the last touchdown scored, or the team who had the ball last, which was UCF. So Memphis got cheated in that game. All I'm going to say is go Tigers and go beat the hell out of UCF. Brian, I know we had mentioned it earlier that we had given our takes on Texas Tech and A&M, but what do you have for the A&M South Carolina game?
I am really excited for this game this year because normally it is a weak link in our schedule, not just with USC being normally a weaker opponent, but normally we go in underestimating USC's strength, and always I'm disappointed whenever I'm watching this game. But I think with Jimbo, we've got a new energy. With Kentucky manhandling them a couple weeks ago before coming here, I think that we got a great chance to really pull out a good win this week.
Score?
I think it'll be 35-7.
Wow.
Ooh, wow.
Whoa. I mean, we were having the same reaction right there. Holy moly. I don't think it'll be that big. I think it'll be somewhat of a victory, but seeing how this A&M team has played the last few weeks, I don't think I can guarantee them getting even 35 points, and I can't even guarantee that they're going to allow 7. And finally, before we let you go here, Texas Tech, TCU, what say you?
All right, so I would normally pick TCU over Texas Tech on any given day. I was looking up this game thinking Texas Tech has a chance to win, but how they played against West Virginia, I think that they got to come out really strong in the beginning of this game, or else they're going to be lost through it. I think TCU will have a great chance to just kind of put this away in the first quarter as long as Texas Tech doesn't come out strong.
Score,
I got TCU 21, Texas Tech 6.
Desmond, any thoughts on that?
Well, TCU is a pretty good team. I could see that happening, but I gotta go with my Red Raiders.
Yeah.
Come on, baby.
And before we sign off here, small school outlook. Just want to say North Texas finally got back to winning, and they won. They beat a UTEP just close though, which scares me a little bit. But you know what, UTEP is up and down, and they play Southern Miss this week. There is a potential I will be at that game because it's North Texas, Southern Miss. It's a bye week for A&M. It's South Carolina, so why not go to a game and have some fun? And for the record, Desmond, I did wear my North Texas shirt to the Kentucky game. I wore it loud and proud. Actually, I had lots of maroon on it. I had a jersey over it. I had my A&M socks, everything. So I did pay off my bet, but we won. So maybe it was good luck that I wore that. So maybe the next time we play a top 15 team, I need to wear that. And how about Arizona State? What about them?
Arizona State, I know you said last week you're thinking about me changing. I don't agree, George. Last week they went to number 19 Colorado, lost 28-21. They placed for next. About every loss they've had this season has been by 7 points. Every single one by 7 points. And 2 of those losses are coming from top 20 teams. So they're not playing too terrible, George. It's not like they're being blown out a lot.
No, but they are losing.
Yeah, but George, you gotta look on the bright side here.
It's all about how you win and how you lose. If you lose by 7 points or whatever, you still lost. If you win by 7 points, you still won. So I'm sorry, Desmond. I'm giving you one last shot. You want to change, or are you going to stick with your Arizona State Sun Devils?
I'm gonna stay.
Okay. We'll see if they can pick it up this rest of the season. But that's pretty much the time we have for this episode number 6. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to be a guest, just like Brian was, you can email us at the5qpodcast@gmail.com. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at the5qpodcast. We'd love to hear from you. And you never know. Maybe there'll be a prize for the best guest picker record at the end of the season. I mean, I bet Desmond and I can pitch in something from our schools, or pitch in some fifth quarter merch that we might or may not, create. But we hope you enjoyed it. Giga Maggies, Recom Tech, and adios.